Hello and welcome to Restoration Messianic Fellowship and Esther's Legacy for the counting of the Omer. Today is day 3 of week 1, and so here is the blessing. So Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefarat ha'omer.
Blessed are
You, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us by your commandments and has commanded us about the counting of the Omer.
Amen.
We'll get that out there right one of these days. We're early on in the 50-day process.
Yes, it's 50 days, and
50
we're already
days.
on day 3.
And so that's part of what we're going to talk about today. You know, this picture of the 50 days, the counting of the 7 Sabbaths, with the 50th day being the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot in Hebrew. It's also better known in the traditional Christian circles as Pentecost. You know, that's something that the Jewish people have been celebrating for 1,400 years, long before that day in Acts chapter 2. But it's that picture of the 50 days is really supposed to create a sense of anticipation, a building, an anticipation for this 50th day, because that 50th day in this short 50-day cycle is actually a reminder and a picture of another type of 50, significant 50 out of the biblical calendar. Do you want to tell them about that?
That would be the Jubilee. Remember, they were to count 7 years 7 times, so 49 years. And then on the 50th year, that is the year of Yuvel or Jubilee. It is the year of release, the release of the captives. And it was the year they were allowed to go back home to their ancestral land. If they had sold their land, they were able to get it back so that it would stay within a single tribe. And so the idea of the Jubilee was supposed to be this
celebration. It's the Lord's favor.
Yes.
To proclaim the year of the Lord's favor.
Absolutely.
That's all language of Jubilee.
Yes.
And so we were just talking about that just the other day, and notice something really interesting. So, you know, every 50 years is this Jubilee year, and we've got to realize, you know, about roughly how long it's been since Messiah was here, since Yeshua was here, since the death, burial, and resurrection in fulfillment of those feasts. And we got to thinking about something related to that. And it takes a math person that'll figure that part out.
Right. Now, I just I like numbers. But if we go back to the Exodus, the Israelites were let go out of, well, they weren't let go, they were told to go, right? God brought them out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and of course with the blood of the Lamb. And they came out of Egypt in haste, and then they took 50 days to get to the point where they were at the mountain and when God came down on the mountain. So that's that anticipation. When they left Egypt, they knew they were going to go worship God. And so this anticipation for the day where they would be able to actually do that, 50 days later, it came. And so we see that those 50 days, but with Jubilee, of course, we have 50 years. Now, did they, after they were at the mountain for for about a year, almost a year, they were supposed to go into the land, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they were.
Did they get to go completely into the land at that point?
No. Once they left Mount Sinai and they were taken up to the borders of the land, they had the idea to send out the 12 spies to go out and check out the land for how many days? Wasn't it 40 days?
40 days.
And bring back some of the fruit of the land and bring back a report about the kind of people and the cities and fortifications and all those types of things. And that's where you see there's that incident where Joshua and Caleb came back saying, hey, let's go. The Lord is with us. Yeah, this is not too difficult for us.
Right. This is not too difficult for God.
But the other 10 came back with an evil report, a bad report, saying that we seemed like grasshoppers in the eyes of the people, that the walls were great, the people were big, we will never be able to accomplish this. And so they turned the opinion of the entire nation against going forward into that land of promise. And so because of that, they then had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. If you remember all of that account. So they were not allowed to go straight into the land as they were supposed to. So those numbers of 50 and 40 have they parallel each other a little bit. There's some similarities in that respect, that they are adjacent to one another also in symbolism and in meaning. And so we got to thinking about how many Jubilees has it been?
Well, actually, I got to think about, well, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. How many Jubilees has it been? And 50 years times 40 is 2,000 years. Let that sink in for a minute. So it's been almost, since the time of the death, burial, and resurrection of Yeshua, it has been almost 40 Jubilees. Now, I know that there's some different ways of counting that some people might say, no, wait a minute, I've heard something else. I was just taking the solid number 50, okay? So it's been almost 40 of those 50. Right? And we will come up on that final 40th one. Let's say Yeshua died, was buried, and rose and ascended in the year 30 AD. Well, then in 2030, it will have been 40 of those 50s. Okay? Just depending on what year that he died, was buried, and rose again.
And that is at least, I believe, a significant thing, because that 40 years, or that 40 number, is that time of testing. It's that time of wandering. It's that time where they're circling around and not able to go into the promise.
Right.
And that's a fascinating thing to consider, considering the days that we are in. Because there's other ways that people have looked at this, and we're going to try to keep it relatively short tonight. We have a tendency to go really long on these things, but there's another way of looking at it, and how these things seem to line up in various ways. From creation to Abraham was roughly 2,000 years.
Yes.
From Abraham to the days of Messiah was roughly 2,000 years, and it's been roughly 2,000 years from the days of Messiah till today. And so that is 6,000 years. And so we are coming up upon the 7,000. And it's almost as if the weekly pattern, with the 6 days of labor and the 7th day of rest, we've had 6,000 years of labor, and we're coming up upon the 7,000th year of rest, which is the millennial kingdom.
Yes, 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000 years. Those things are equated.
So, does that mean something? Well, the Lord knows. He knows the times. He knows when He is going to send for His Son out for His bride. But it's something that we need to be aware of, or something to consider, so that we are aware of the times that we live in, because there is an urgency that we need to understand, that God is bringing us to days of fulfillment. So we may not know the day or the hour, but we should know the season that we are in. That's something that the Scriptures calls us to. And so this counting of the Omer is a good reminder that we are counting down to the days of the return of the King.
Amen. Amen.
And so
as we count through the Omer, let's have that anticipation for Shavuot. We'll talk a little bit more as we get closer to Shavuot, what Shavuot's supposed to mean. And we will also talk some about what he just mentioned, right, that Messiah will come back for his bride. What exactly does that mean biblically? And do we completely understand that? So we'll be talking about that as well. So I hope you can join us each night as we go through the counting of the Omer. I know at sunset, yes, we will go to day 4, but that's okay. Some days we may even miss. You may want to come back to see us tomorrow when we are actually doing our service here at Restoration Messianic Fellowship at 1 o'clock, because we will count the Omer tomorrow together as a congregation. So we may or may not end up doing a video tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes, but bear with us. We want to do as many days as we can as we go through this counting with you.
So that's at 1 p.m. on Shabbat, on Saturdays. You can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our own app that we have, but our website is down there below. We'd love for you to join us.
Or even on Rumble. We'll post it on Rumble as well.
Yes, we will. So may the Lord bless you, and y'all have a good night.
Shalom.
Shalom.